Good morning, everybody, and welcome to CTC Live. This morning, we are joined by representatives of the Financial Aid Office to give you some good advice about FAFSA, application deadlines, and everything you need to know to help you pay for those classes and get you settled. We have Lucette Brett, who's going to lead the charge today, and in the background, but you're not supposed to see her, is Pearl Creviston, the Director of Financial Aid. So she'll chime in if need be, but this is the Lucette Hour, the Lucette Show, and is the wealth of knowledge this morning. So Lucette, take it away.
Oh, I forgot my clown nose, but hey, Halloween's over. So, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us. I hope we can be informative. If you have additional questions, we are going to provide you with a way to contact us. Um, the big topic right now is FAFSA because it just came live for next year. Every October 1st, the new FAFSA is available at studentaid.gov. So, we're going to talk a little bit about that. Many of our financial aid staff had the privilege of going to the early college high school for a presentation for FAFSA night, and we've also been to Harker Heights, I think, and with Shoemaker was last night, wasn't it? So we're trying to get out there and answer as many questions in the community as we can. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and show a brief PowerPoint to give you some information. Again, the FAFSA is at studentaid.gov. It is free. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen
And
now.
while you're sharing your screen, let me just remind everybody this is interactive. So if you have questions for Lucette or anybody here, then please type them in the chat and we will certainly answer them.
Okay. Are you seeing it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So let's see if we can get it to go. Here we go. Financial aid. Once you complete the FAFSA, it opens up an avenue of different sources of financial funds. And you've got loans, grants, work studies, scholarships. It does depend on each college individually. And it's going to be based on your 2 years prior income for that. So I'm the loan officer. So typically what I deal with loans, and notice in the red here, it says pay back. These other items are not funds that you will have to pay back. So we strongly encourage you to get as many grants and scholarships as possible so that you don't move on to a four-year university with debt already. But if everybody needs a little help sometimes, we're happy to do that with you. And we do have a work study program here at CTC. It is a great way to get your feet wet in the real world if you've never had a job that's outside of fast food, something that you might want to try. You do have to be eligible by completing the FAFSA and having a need. So if you can picture going to school and either going to the gym or the library, all of the different departments have students potentially that can work there. So it may be something that leads on to a career later on even. We do have Texas grants and federal grants available. Again, they do not have to be paid back. And we have scholarships. Mostly they're merit based. It can be your content area. Perhaps you're a nursing student. They have different things that you can find there. We also have our own foundation at CTC. Um, you have to have already been a student here at CTC. Most of the time, they want you to maintain a good GPA, like about a 2.0, and then they can get you some assistance with that. So, me being the loan officer, I am constantly answering questions about loans, obviously subsidized and unsubsidized. And right now we're in a unique time in history because currently loans are at 0% interest. That is about to come to an abrupt halt starting in January. Everything is going to be going back to normal. Student loans payments are resuming and the interest is going to start. Now, the interest will only start if you have unsubsidized loans and you're still in school full time. And for a loan, you have to be in at least 6 hours. So what that means is that the government provides a subsidy for the subsidized loans and they pay your interest while you're in school up until that 6-month grace period is over and then it starts accruing interest. So if you think of unsubsidized loan, you need to hear that ching, 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 ching adding up because as soon as you originate that loan, you're accruing that interest on that loan. And again, we strongly encourage you, if you don't have to borrow, to wait, because if you're going to go on to say Texas A&M, Central Texas, or UT, wherever, those schools are much more expensive in tuition, room and board, and fees, and you may need that that resource then. We do have Federal Direct Plus loans, which are parent loans, and your that goes with your parents. Um, they do have to apply, and again, that's going to be at studentaid.gov. Let's see here. What is FAFSA? Well, the FAFSA, you provide a lot of information demographically, your income, taxes, debt, all of that good stuff, and they come up with what's called your expected family contribution. So once they determine that, they determine your need. And right here on the bottom of our little slide, you can see that Baylor is a little bit pricey at 68.8. The estimated family contribution of an average family could potentially be 24,000 a year. Well, you can see there's a lot of unmet need. Well, at CTC, we have a very low cost of attendance, but you may not have unmet need depending on what your family contribution is. So that's one of those things that there's a complicated equation. If you want more information about that, you can always contact me later, and I'm happy to give you a detailed rundown of that fun stuff. So there are deadlines for this. CTC is very good about offering classes at different times of the year, but we are governed by federal guidelines, which are listed here. So as you can see that for CTC, the priority deadline is going to be June 30th. So if you're wanting to go next academic year, you need to make sure that you have that in way ahead of time. Am I saying wait until June to fill it out? Not if you don't have to. The sooner the better, because it's first come, first serve on grants and things of that nature. And so for the state of Texas, generally, they have a January 15th prior to attending. So that's some of the larger schools there. Oh, and one other addendum to that. So we just passed a loan deadline. October 30th was the fall loan deadline. So if you were awarded fall and spring loans, but you never met the requirements to get those loans, what has happened now is they're repackaged so that you can get spring and summer loans. You will still get the same amount for the year. It's just going to be dispersed differently. So that said, make sure that you follow the requirements to get all of that done. And I believe we'll be going over that in a little bit. So we do also have VA benefits upstairs. You can talk with Mr. James Morgan or Cynthia Oswald. I know that Ms. Patrice will also help you out when you have questions about VA benefits. Just because you're completing the FAFSA, that's not going to affect that. So as you can see here, you do not have to report GI Bill eligibility on your FAFSA. So don't let that deter you from completing a FAFSA. Every year you have to complete a new one. Some students say, well, I completed my FAFSA last year. It depends on which FAFSA you completed and what year it's for. So there's some timelines listed here for freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors, as you can see. Hopefully your parents can assist you if you are a dependent student or under 24 years old, because their information has to go on there as well. And it does, depending on what you have going on in your life, to take 30 minutes could take 60 minutes. The one good thing about the FAFSA is that they do have what's called a data retrieval tool, which can assist you so that you don't have to dig into your 1040 to find out your income and tax information. You can just use the data retrieval tool, because the IRS computers and studentaid.gov, the Department of Ed, they talk to each other. So if you think you're going to get something over on the folks at FAFSA, no, typically that doesn't happen. So make sure that you read those forms carefully. If you don't know where to go and you've never been to the website, this is pretty much what your welcome page is going to look like. It's very simple. You start here, you log in. If you don't have a login, they're going to walk you through it. Again, that's going to be studentaid.gov, or you can even do FAFSA.gov and it'll come up. If you don't already have an FSA ID, you'll have to create one. Be very careful when you create one and make sure you remember what your password is, because once you do that, CTC has no idea what your password is or any way to access it or help you. That said, if you forget it, they do have help numbers and a chat that you can get assistance with on there. Okay, so this is explaining the FSA ID. This item right here, this bullet that's in green, is highlighted for a reason. It's very easy to mistype your social security number, and you have to have it exactly like it's on your card. So make sure that that's one of those things that we sometimes get verification notices for. Even though you've completed the FAFSA and you're eligible, something is not quite right, a number may be off. Okay, so we want to make sure that you get that in there correctly. And this time of year, you're going to see two buttons because you're still eligible to fill out the 21-22 FAFSA. That's the academic year that we are in now. Next academic year is going to be the 22-23 year. So you're going to want to make sure, depending on when you want to start, which one you're going to complete. You're going to need your tax information from 2 years back. So if you're completing the one for 21-22, now notice which one comes first. It's not the current one. That's next year's. So the 21-22 is going to require your 2019 income and tax information. And the 22-23 FAFSA will require your 2020 income and tax information. Okay, so here's some F&Qs. It says, what documents do I need to complete the FAFSA form? All of this is available on the website, so you're going to want to make sure that you have those forms ready ahead of time. That way, if it says you're ineligible to use that DRT retrieval tool, that you can that you'll be able to use that. So as you can see up here, they have different sections for what you're going to be using. You've got student demographics, your school selection, and this is why it can be timely. It just depends on all of the information that you have. All right, so here's an important note. We have a lot of dual credit students. So even if you've taken dual credit or completed an associate's through early college, high school, you're still going to be a first year. Okay, even if you've gone a full year and have an associate's in high school, you're still going to be considered a first year student. So don't forget that. Dependency status can sometimes be an issue, and that comes into play. We have a lot of students that are like, well, you know, I'm 19, I have a job, I'm on my own. That's not the way the federal government sees it. The federal government sees it that you are a dependent and your parents are responsible for you until you're 24 years old financially, and they're going to look for them to do that, and they're going to want their information as well. Now, there are some stipulations for that, and they do list them. So you're going to have to provide documentation should you meet one of those requirements. Why should you apply for the FAFSA? Well, one, it's free and it's not going to hurt anything. It's only going to give you the opportunity to pay for your schooling without having as much debt as if you had tried to do maybe personal loans or out of pocket. So it's also a graduation requirement starting with the class of 2022. Some students think, oh, well, I've gotten all the way through it. I completed all this. I entered all of the fields, but then they actually forget to click submit. That's an important step. Don't forget that one. And then once you do that, your job is not done. You have got to keep up with what they're sending you, and then where are you going to school at? Where's this information going to go? So if you have provided our school code 004003, you're going to want to contact us. So you've got your application status in here, and it will tell you if you're missing anything or if there's anything that you need to do for the U.S. Department of Education. Again, that entails on their website, not CTC's. We're still in the studentaid.gov section here. Okay, and so you're going to have a report that's going to come in your email. Notice it says make corrections if needed and resubmit. Just because you're asked to make corrections doesn't mean you've done something terribly wrong or that there's a problem with the IRS information. Sometimes it's just a typo. So make sure that you go in and look. And here's an example of that. Oops. Let me see if I can go back. And I'm in the wrong mode to do that. Okay, we'll just keep moving. All right, so the colleges, they get a FAFSA report, but they're only going to get your FAFSA report if you have typed in the code for that school. Again, ours is 004003. So once we get it, it doesn't mean that poof, you get all the money that FAFSA said you're going to get. You still have requirements for us. So in about a week, I would always make sure to call financial aid if we haven't sent you an email. And you do have Eagle Self-Service. In your Eagle Self-Service, you have a financial aid section, and you will have a checklist of items to take care of to complete the tasks, depending on what aid you requested or what you decide that you're going to accept. If you have documents that are needed, they are going to be in eTrieve and easily accessible. Just because we offer you a certain loan amount does not mean you have to take the entire amount. If you decide, well, I only need $500 to cover a certain book I need, then that's all you can take. That you specify and let me know through using one of our adjustment forms, and we're happy to do that for you. Because remember what we said about going to a four-year school, especially if it's private like Baylor. They're very expensive. You may need the loan assets available then. Okay, so when you come to CTC, you get typically a student email, or we use a personal email depending on how soon they get the ball rolling through the technology piece. And then you have access through your account in Eagle Self-Service. Okay, that's where you're going to accept your awards. CTC accepts your Pell Grant automatically, but any other awards are up to you to go in and make sure that you have everything checked off that you need in your checklist. So if you look down here in the green highlight, if accepting federal loans for the first time, a student must complete the annual student loan acknowledgement, sign the MPN or master promissory note agreeing to pay back the loan, and complete entrance counseling. A lot of students complete this, but then they don't remember the rules about loans. So when you go through it, I encourage you to take your time when you're doing the entrance counseling so you understand how loans work, how it works while you're in school, how much time you have before you have to start paying your loan back, and all of those particulars. Okay, if you are selected for verification, we're going to ask for information. It could be tax information, it could be income information, and we have the link here for the IRS. It's very simple to get to and to create an account with the IRS, so don't panic. A lot of people get flustered the minute you say those three little letters, IRS. Again, most of the people when you call the helpline are very helpful there at the IRS. But if you get your account online, you don't have to deal with anyone specifically, and you can get the forms that you need online. Now, if you're selected for verification for us, we will request those specific forms in eTrieve. We have V4 and V5 verification worksheets, and we have a marital tax filing status worksheet in which you will also have to include your income and tax information. You may be asked to verify your identity, or if for some reason you're not a tax filer, they may actually ask for non-filing documentation. Let's see. So when you receive financial aid, our office, the financial aid office, is who handles that. We take the money, and once we award that, the business office takes over and they apply it towards your tuition, fees, room and board. And then if there's anything left over after census date, typically around 30 days afterwards, then you're provided a refund. And again, in your Eagle self service, it acts almost just like a bank account would. You can see anything that you're awarded, what's going in, details about the date and the amounts, and you can also see how they've paid expenses, and even the refunds are going to show up on there, and it's done by term. So if you click on the blue letters that say fall 2021, and then you can click expand all. Once you're in your account summary, you see everything that has transpired in your account. So there are some changes coming. Just a quick overview here through for the 22-23 year and then the 24-25 year. They're trying to reduce the number of questions. They're trying to change income as far as untaxed income and how that relates. And then right now, the DRT is optional, that data retrieval tool we talked about from the IRS. But for 24-25, it's going to be required where possible. So that's something to consider. There's also a selective service requirement where male students have to register for selective service, which ultimately is like if the US would have a draft, that's where that information would come from, but it's going to be it's no longer required. And then the drug convictions will no longer affect federal aid. And then there used to be for loans, what we called affectionately SULA, and they were limits on how much you could get for your degree. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't still loan limits, because there are. There are lifetime loan limits and there are yearly loan limits. And it depends on whether you're an independent or dependent freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior, and so on. There's graduate loans, etc. Okay, so if you are not eligible to file a FAFSA, you can still complete the TASFA in Texas, and you have to follow the certain guidelines here. If you need more information about that, please contact the financial aid office so that we can assist you, because you will be required to submit tax returns and W-2s and things of this nature, and complete an affidavit. So some additional resources, like I said, we had the privilege of listening to the scholarship lady at Early College High School, and this is her information. If you are a student with KISD or CCISD, you can ask your counselor for the password for that. And here's some other very helpful websites when applying for college: roadtocollege.com, goapplytexas.org, attitudemag.com, and savingforcollege.com has a wonderful guide to the FAFSA that can walk you through it. I also want to remind you too, when you log into the FAFSA, that once you have logged in, they actually have a live chat. It's not necessarily the little owl guy that pops up, but they do have the live chat there. Let me see if I can. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. So if you have any questions, I haven't been able to monitor the chat based on how I was doing this. So
There's been several questions and Pearl has been
excellent.
answering, but I'm going to scroll back and go through them. And Pearl,
Okay,
is that feel free to expand upon them if you will, just for
perfect.
everyone's sake. The first question was, is it too late for someone wanting to start the spring 2022 semester as far as applying for that FAFSA? I know the deadline was October 1, but is it too late if somebody wants to
Well,
start the
October
summer
1
spring?
isn't a deadline. October 1 is when they open the new FAFSA up for the following year. So it's
Okay.
not a deadline. So yes, they can still apply for spring funds.
And
Absolutely.
Pearl says do it as soon as possible.
Exactly. Yeah,
All right, the
because
next question, can I start
students
making
are
payments
already
on my
registering.
student? I'm sorry, what was that?
Students are already registering for their spring classes. You got to get a move on.
Sure, definitely. All right, next question. Can I start making payments on my student loan before graduating? And Pearl says, yes, you can start making payments before you graduate. And if you have both sub and unsub loans, it is recommended you start payments on this unsub first.
Absolutely, because that was the one we talked about. As soon as you originate that loan, that money, ting, 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 is going to start adding up.
Great. Next question. I recently got married, but was not married when I filed my taxes. What do I do? Pearl answered on the FAFSA is always based on what your marital status is on the day you complete the FAFSA.
Right. And so what happens with that, I'm going to elaborate a little bit because that's one of the ones that we see quite a bit. And I just had a phone call on it actually, is we're going to request that information from your new spouse, because even though you weren't married in 2019, you've got that income source, you've got an additional income source now. So we'll have you fill out a form and you'll need to provide both of your taxes so we can incorporate that into your financial aid.
Great. All right, next question. Does my
Bruce,
GPA, I'm sorry?
Bruce, I'm sorry, just a moment. I want to
That's okay,
elaborate
go
on
ahead.
one other issue. We have had students in the case where they were married to someone else 2 years ago when they're providing the tax information. And now in the current year, they're married to, of course, someone different. They've been divorced since then. So you will typically have some issues when that comes up, and we will sort that out for you in the financial aid office. You're going to answer the FAFSA, as we said, as of the information on the day you complete it. So immediately that means your taxes are not going to match because you're going to file taxes with a former spouse that you're not married to anymore. So we will be using W-2s. We would need W-2 information in order to sort out whose income is whose on the FAFSA.
Okay, great. Thanks for clarifying that. So if there's any other questions, please type those in. The next question I have is, does my GPA affect the possibility for me to receive financial aid? And
Absolutely.
I think, Pearl, you answered yes, both GPA and completion rate are important in determining continued eligibility for the FAFSA. So I don't know if you want to expand upon that.
No, I think basically on that one, I misspelled warning on the bottom. I apologize. But I did discuss warning. So the first time you fall below standards for financial aid, you're placed on a financial aid suspension or warning based on circumstances. So in the first term you attend, maybe you went on a warning, and in the second term, it didn't get any better. We may put you on a suspension. If that happens, then you have to do an appeal to try and get financial aid back. And a lot of the confusion that students have about financial aid suspensions are they are different from academic suspensions. So while you may not be on an academic suspension, you could still be on a suspension with financial aid. So just understand there are two different types.
Right. Good deal. Next question. I no longer live with my parents, so am I now considered independent?
Not at all. Or maybe. That's one of those questions that it really is, it depends. So the question is, are you under the age of 24, first and foremost? If you are, then are you married or active duty military? Independent student supporting a child on your own with enough income in your household to support two individuals in that case? Or are you an orphan ward of the court? If the answer is no to all those four questions, then it means you still have to use parent information. Even if you live in your own apartment, have your own job, pay your own bills, and receive zero support from your parents, still have to use their information.
Okay, great. And then Pearl, you typed in something about the completion rate. If you attempt 12 credit hours, you complete them all, it would mean your completion rate is 100%. Can you kind of explain a little bit more about that in depth with the
completion rate is something students often overlook on the financial aid requirements. The Department of Education says the student has to be meeting progress and making progress towards graduation. So the way that's calculated is, first off, the easy one, are you passing all your classes? The other part, though, is often overlooked because on an academic side, a withdrawn class may not hurt you at all on your transcripts because it doesn't count. But for financial aid, it does count on your academic completion rate. And so, for instance, if you take 12 credit hours and you drop 2 of them, that means financial aid awarded for 12 hours and you only completed 50%. That puts you below standards. If you continue, a lot of students often will ask, what if I drop, isn't it better to drop a class than fail a class? Well, for financial aid, just understanding that whether you drop or fail, it's still a non-completion. I would always say if you have the option to drop a class before you fail it, yes, it's better because it won't impact your GPA. However, you still have dropped a class and have not completed the requirements. So you always want to make sure that dropping a class is very rare and doesn't happen every semester, or it will add up and put you on a suspension as well.
Great. All right, thank you for that. Another question, I submitted my FAFSA and I'm only eligible for student loans, but my income has dramatically changed since I filed my taxes. What can I do?
So Lucette, what would you tell a student in this case? You know, that they just qualified for loans, go ahead and get a loan?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question again?
The
Yes,
student
I
was
submitted
asking
my
about the
FAFSA
student
and I'm
loans.
only
I
eligible for
only
student loans.
qualified for student loans, but their income drastically changed. So what do we tell a student in that case?
Well, y'all were both talking at the same time.
Okay, I'll go. I submitted my FAFSA and I'm only eligible for student loans, but my income has dramatically changed since I filed my taxes. What can I do?
Um, I'm going to let Pearl answer that question because I haven't had to address that.
So you would automatically have a student loan and you're qualified for that. However, when you say your income drastically changed, it depends again on did it go up? Now you make a whole lot more than you did before, or did it go down? And it has to significantly have gone down by, and it's usually about $8,000 to $10,000, and you can come and do what's called a special circumstance. So a special circumstance allows me to go ahead and recalculate your income based on today instead of 2 years ago. So with the Department of Ed using 2 year ago information, the history between now and 2 years ago can often be completely different. So they realize that, but they allow financial aid administrators to calculate a special circumstance in those cases. So we can try and qualify you for Pell Grant, which is usually our goal.
Right. Good deal. Thank you. All right. Any other questions coming through right now? Anything on Facebook, Lee? Okay, none on Facebook, none here right now. So, okay, let's see. I completed my FAFSA a month ago, but I'm told you do not have it. What could be the problem?
That's a good question because we get that one an awful lot. And earlier in the presentation, Lucette discussed that Social Security card. A lot of times, especially students coming out of high school, aren't sure what their Social Security number is. So they will either leave it blank on their admissions application, or they might guess and be off a number or two. So that makes a complete difference for the FAFSA. We cannot, as an institution, even if you use our school code, receive a FAFSA unless your social in the admissions portion matches the FAFSA social that you used. So again, Lucette did emphasize that in her presentation. You definitely want to make sure you're looking at your Social Security card and you type in your name and your Social Security exactly as it shows on that card. But let's say you've already done it and it's not correct. Then what you would do is contact admissions and provide them with a copy of your Social Security card so that they can make that correction in our system, and then we would be able to import that FAFSA.
Good deal. Good deal. All right. Any other questions coming through? All right, Lucette, I'm going to turn it back to you. And if I didn't know if you had any more information you wanted to share, but worst case scenario, we could probably show them where to go on the financial aid webpage on the CTC website.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was muted. Yeah, give me 1 second. Sorry about that.
No problem. And this is just general information because a lot of times students don't know where to go on the website to seek this information. So we want to make sure that you know exactly where you need to go, and the information's out there, plus some contact information is on that website as well.
Absolutely. Oops. Did I get the wrong screen on there?
We got your whole computer screen going.
Oh, sorry. Give me just a second here.
That is one busy desktop, I might add.
There we go. It is a busy day.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the main ctcd.edu website. And if you'll go into students and financial aid and click on here, it says we are here to serve you, and that is absolutely true. It does take a little bit of maneuvering if you're interested in looking for details. So we've got the processing piece here and the steps to financial aid, which is a link. Of course, anytime you click on something that changes color, it's going to take you somewhere else. But if you notice here, courses covered by financial aid eligibility, a lot of times I'll get a call that they're saying, well, I have this other class, why isn't it covered? So we do have some rules, and one is it has to begin and end in the term, and the terms are always listed on our webpage. So this term ends the last day of December, and then the spring, of course, will begin. And it has to be required by your degree plan, so always consult with an academic advisor. Try to get those appointments done ahead of time. We're always going to communicate with you through your Eagle Mail if you have one, and through your web advisor. So I strongly encourage, and have it as a signature on my email page, to check your self-service and your Eagle Mail and your email weekly, because you just never know when something comes up and we need to get a hold of you. And we can't do that unless you're keeping up with us as well. So over here where it says types of aid on the right hand side, you can click on it, and it has different sections for the financial aid department. The grants, loans, scholarships, and work study that we discussed before in the PowerPoint are on here. So if you have any questions, again, we are happy to assist you. I think our phone number's at the bottom well, maybe not.
You can probably click
There we
the
go, it's up at the
contact us
top.
on the,
So
there you go.
we also have live chat, and it's monitored very closely. Typically, we do get a lot of questions actually about registration and other things. We're happy to guide you in any way we can. So if you're stuck and you just don't know who to ask, you can always ask us, or go to Student Success and Persistence, which is also on one of my signature lines, because if I don't know how to direct you, I'll find you somebody who can.
Right. And one more thing that I think I just put the email financial.aid@ctcd.edu in there. So there's another outlet for you to communicate with financial aid. If I can get you to go back to the homepage real quick one time.
The main page for
Well, that's
CTC
fine
or
up there.
financial
That's
aid?
fine up there. Click the COVID-19 return to campus link.
Oh, right up here.
Yeah.
Free money.
Yes, indeed. That's exactly where I'm going. If you'll click financial assistance,
Mm-hmm. We
there's a
still have
link
the
there.
two grants, actually. We have the American Rescue Plan and the Coronavirus Response and Relief. I believe there's still some funds out there. I
Yes.
always tell students, once you get into eForms and click on that, if it allows you to fill it out, to go for it. So
Yeah. And this is basically why I wanted you to show it, because this is free money, students. This is could be a free tuition semester for you guys by applying for those grants. And again, it'll cover the cost of tuition, books, and childcare, and other mental health things that you might need, or other things. So again, you're giving away free money if you don't apply for these grants.
right.
So
And it's on every page at the very top in red letters.
yes. So we definitely want you to apply for those. They're very easy online applications. They take just a matter of minutes to submit and fill out and submit. And again, free money. Who doesn't want free money? You know,
It does
so
not have to be paid back. It doesn't even have anything to do with your income or your FAFSA. It is a $1,000 grant for 3 hours to 11 hours that you're taking. So even if you just take one class, we are trying to help students as much as we can.
yeah, and 6 credit hours can get you as much as $2,000. So,
Absolutely.
take advantage of that free money, folks. All right. Are there any questions for Lucette or Pearl before we wrap this up? I'm not seeing any questions. I just want to remind everybody that this CTC live session will be available on YouTube later today. So if you came in late, or if you need to review any of the information that was shared today, it'll be available on YouTube, and you can look at it and peruse it at your leisure. and get the information that you need. And once again, Lucette and Pearl are always available at 526-1508, or you can email them at financial.aid@ctcd.edu. All right, any last nuggets of wisdom from either Lucette or Pearl before we wrap this up?
I'll say file your FAFSA early. Don't forget, for those of you that are current students, you have already done your FAFSA for 21-22, so it is already time to do next year's FAFSA to start in the fall, 22-23. Thank you.
Great. How about you, Lucette?
If you have a question, please ask, because a lot of students will say that, they were afraid to ask or they didn't know who to ask. Even if you don't know who to ask, just call us. Like I said before, we will help you get the help you need, whether it be academic advising or the business office. We want to help you be successful here.
Great, thank you. And that is the absolute truth. So you don't know what you don't know, so you got to ask those questions, and these are the correct people to ask these questions of. So again, thank you, Pearl. Thank you, Lucette. And thanks for all the great questions from all the participants. We truly appreciate it. And again, this will be available on YouTube later today. And the next CTC Live involving financial aid will be the second Tuesday in December at 10 a.m. on Facebook. And so be on the lookout for that. And for those of you who are using military benefits, we'll have a CTC Live concerning veteran services on the 18th of this month. Normally it's the second Thursday, but second Thursday is a holiday this time around. So everybody enjoy your Veterans Day holiday. So we'll have it on the 18th at 10 a.m. on Facebook. So join that if you are military related. Again, thank you, Lucette. Thank you, Pearl. And thanks to everyone. And we'll see you on the next CTC Live. Take care.
Bye-bye.